Marfoogle TV live in 3, 2, 1.
Is it the same one? You think you wonder. I said I wonder. I said I wonder. Is someone taking over under the golden dome?
Alright, what is going on, guys? It is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Hackers disrupt Iran State TV to support the exiled crown prince. Deaths from the crackdown now exceed 4,000. They say out of the United Arab Emirates, hackers disrupted Iranian state television satellite transmissions to air footage supporting the country's exiled crown prince and calling on security forces not to, quote, point your weapons at the people. Online video showed early Monday that the latest disruption to follow nationwide protests in the country. The hacking comes as the toll in the crackdown by authorities that smothered the demonstrators reached at least 4,000 people, activists said. They fear that the number will grow far higher as information leaks out of the country, still gripped by the government's decision to shut down the internet. Now, remember, even the internet Starlink that was installed or that was put above their country, apparently they have military jammers, possibly by Russia, that are jamming that as well. So there's not much getting out of Iran. At least that's what they're saying. And they said Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said that his invitation to speak at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, withdrawn over all of the people getting perished, right? So they're literally saying that they uninvited him because of all of the people that were perishing. Meanwhile, tensions remain high between the United States and Iran over the crackdown after President Donald Trump drew two red lines for the Islamic Republic: the taking out of peaceful protesters and Tehran conducting mass executions in the wake of the demonstrations. The U.S. aircraft carrier, which days earlier had been in the South China Sea, passed Singapore overnight to enter the Strait of Malacca, putting it en route that could bring it to the Middle East. Remember, they're sending in that carrier. It was all the way over on, a third of the world away. Now it's going towards there. So is there going to be an event that is about to happen? We're watching it, and we're watching it live. We just covered breaking news about the president. He was headed to the economic forum, and he actually turned around. Right when he hit the ocean, his plane, Air Force One, was instructed to turn around. They now say it was a minor electrical issues that the lights flickered in the press room. Sorry, I don't believe it. And think about what they're covering. The press room, which has the press in it, their lights blink, and then the plane turns around. They say, oh, yeah, it was just there. What if the electric to the entire plane went out for a second? What if they have systems to protect against it? What if somebody just tried to EMP the plane, but of course it has protection against that, and it survived it? Something is up here. We'll talk about that here in just a minute as well. We'll be back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
I said I wonder, is someone taking over under the golden dome?
All right. The highway says flicking light switches is fun. So I'm just pointing out that what they're reporting is that just in the press room the lights flickered, right? Well, what would they cover? The press room, which is the people that are going to cover whatever happened, they have to be told something. They probably said, oh, no, that was just the lights in your press room. Yeah, it was very odd, but, to be safe on for abundance of caution, we're going to turn around. What if the entire plane just flickered? What if the entire electricity to the plane flickered for a second, and then they have some sort of system to reboot it? That's the scary part here. And it wasn't that far over the ocean. There could have been somebody on land. If you look at the ADSB, there could have been somebody with a machine on land, possibly in the East Coast somewhere, that did that, or a boat that did that. It's very, very odd. The whole thing stinks. I feel like it's either a cover story or they have other threats that's why they're so paranoid about that. Let's before we get going, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine. Not fine like the Air Force One though.
Yeah,
40 plus years old and obviously having problems.
See, I 40 years or not, there's so much money that has been put into revamping it. The shell might be old, but I'm telling you, they have revamped every bit of the inside of that plane for every president. So I just don't find that it's going to have electrical issues. They have re-gutted parts of it. From my understanding from my sister's ex, that they've actually redone that, and they've actually torn up parts and done electrical work in that. Because you would think, and they're probably going to tell us that it has very old electrical or whatever, but this isn't like a house. This is the thing that houses the president in the air. It is one of the most defended, planes out there. So I don't know. I think something's up with this. Dex, do you want to talk about the DOJ subpoenas Walls, Ellison Frey over the whole probe with immigration obstruction?
So apparently Bondi is in Minneapolis now, and the Justice Department on Tuesday has served subpoenas to the offices of many officials there, including Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and the Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. All of this is in connection to the probe and the alleged conspiracy to impede the federal immigration officers, according to sources that are talking about the subpoenas and how they were presented. So the subpoenas represent a significant escalation between the Justice Department and the Minnesota officials who have clashed over the administration's intense crackdown against the immigrants living in the state illegally. So, but yeah, she arrived and she is there now as part of this. And there's also some discussion that has been going on about what's going to happen with that church and if any charges are going to be filed on that as well.
Yeah, so as far as everything in this, I believe that no one is going to get arrested, no one's going to get in trouble, no one's going to get even a slap on the wrist. And that's just because I said it earlier, I think Walz is obviously, he was the VP runner. He's connected to the very top of whoever in that previous regime. And I don't think that he is going to be touched whatsoever. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And then, of course, you'll find out. The president says on Greenland takeover strategy. So, again, very, very short term that he says here. It said President Donald on Tuesday declined to detail what lengths he will go in order to achieve his aim of making Greenland part of the United States one day before he is scheduled to arrive to the WEF. So yesterday, last night, I believe, you'll find out, Trump said in response to a question asking how far he would go to acquire the Arctic island during a nearly 2-hour press briefing at the White House. Again, essentially, you'll find out. He has said over and over, he said, we will take it, whether they like it or not. You'll find out. They're essentially saying that you're going to see here in a bit what we're going to do. Mind you, all of these other things have been now spurred by this. You have NATO and many countries that are also going to be at the WEF all talking about this. You have Canada. We just covered this. They are doing hypothetical scenarios that the U.S. invades them, right? This is, again, another thing that's really happening. The military is modeling hypothetical invasions of the U.S. into Canada. And we're about to talk about Greenland as well. The world is looking at us like we are the invaders, right? And in a couple of the cases, we are. But if you look at the full big picture, I think that he wants his awards. I think he wants his peace. I think he wants his legacy. He cares so much about his legacy. If you didn't see the press conference today, It was almost kind of wild. Dix, were you able to catch any of the press conference today?
No, I was unfortunately I missed it.
Okay, so he was either tired. I saw a lot of people saying, like, is he on painkillers or something? Does he have a cold? People, he was having maybe an issue with his teeth, but he was reminiscing about. He was repeating, and he a lot of the times he'll repeat things on purpose. It's part of his the art of the deal kind of persona, and the way that he talks, it reiterates the important things while complimenting, while pushing up positivity, while doing this thing. But today he was reminiscing about like mental institutions, and he's like, and then he started talking about how his mom he goes, why that mom? He kept saying it's a tall building and overlooked the park. It just slumped over the park. And he's like talking about the fence. If anybody saw this, please put it in the comments if you thought this part was weird. And he's like, I saw those big, ferocious, bars on the thing. After he says he's bringing back mental institutions and insane asylums, which I'm in the same generation. I guess it's because of the generation that we're in that we're like, yeah, crazy people should go to crazy places, right? When we were young and when you guys were young, if you were super crazy and psycho, you went to a mental institution. Heck, my mom went a couple times. In her case, it actually helped. But when he said this, he says how ferocious and how it would trap these people and that they weren't going anywhere and it was horrible and scary. And then he goes, we're bringing them back. I mean, it was wild. And then it was just like he was in a good mood. And it very well could have been that he was just in a good mood and talking like he would, where he's reminiscing. But he kept repeating about the Nobel Peace Prize. He has talked about this so much, it's insane. He's like, after 8, he does sound sore. He sounds like he's really pissed off about this damn Peace Prize. So if you think about that, you can make fun of it. You can say it's a bad thing. But one thing we have to look at is he does care about his legacy. He wanted that Nobel Peace Prize. He even said, Machado, she is such a great... The fact that she gave me hers and said, you have it. Obviously, she knew that if there's not some sort of op where she's just straight up a puppet, which she probably is, the fact that she gave it, it's like that was a power move by her, right? She's going to get right into his pocket, right into his sphere if she does that, because he wanted it so bad. He wants to hold it. He wants to see it with his name on it. The Machado thing was not good enough for him. And this is a good thing in a lot of ways, because he cares about his legacy and about how he has wrote into these history books about America. Now, some of you may disagree with me, but Dex, it was wild. Remember how the other day I said I thought that he must be talking about it off air a lot, and I mean he's obviously talking about it on air a lot. He is so sore. I mean, you guys should watch the clip of it. He just kept saying, he's like, 8 wars. He mentioned all 8 wars. He says, I stopped all 8 of these wars and I don't get the Nobel Peace Prize. He really wants that Nobel Peace Prize. Dex, if you didn't see that, I'm surprised they haven't covered it, all over the place, how he talks about it, but I guess they already have. But he really is talking about it a lot. And that to me seems like, he really wants to do good so he can be wrote in the history books as the hero. And that to me, I guess, is an overall net positive, right?
Well, I guess, you want him to be, you want a president to have passion and, purpose and want to solve problems and get them done. So to that extent, he's laser focused. And if that means trying to win a peace prize by, conquering peace around the world, then so be it. But yeah.
So I
think there's more important things than that Nobel Peace Prize, which he's actually said himself. Technically,
if you watch the clip today, you will realize he is laser focused on it. I mean, laser focused on that Peace Prize.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a 10-minute kind of sidetrack, and it was he mentioned all of the wars, Azerbaijan. I mean, all 8 of the wars, 16 countries. He goes through the entire list, and he's basically, and then he puts down. He goes, Norway. Those guys are the guys who are calling the shots. Those people in Norway. They didn't give me the thing. I guess my point too today is it was even strange for me because I haven't seen him like that today, and it was odd. I thought he was acting odd, and and today after he turned around, somebody put a comment with emojis like, hopefully this isn't what we think it is. Like, what if the president is sick? With sick emojis, right? What if the president is ill or something? What if somebody poisoned him or somebody gave him something or, something happened? I don't know. But this is, it's just a circus every single day. And, of course, World War III is not coming now. Before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. If you haven't already, this is our recommendation. If you have one of these on your vehicles, your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, then you will be protected against an EMP strike from an adversary. Again, we mentioned, it is crazy that this, the Air Force One had an issue with the lights flickering, an electrical issue. Is it old wiring or did something hit it and it was protected? What if they did try to just EMP the Air Force One and it is so protected and so beefy that it survived it, but because of that, they're like, yeah, well, we should turn around. Who knows? Or did somebody infiltrate? Could somebody turn that system off from inside? Either way, I digress. This is the way you can protect yourself from these kind of attacks. It is one of the most common ideals as far as if something happens to our country, they're going to turn off the power and they're going to turn off communications. That is every military op, every invasion, every takeover. That's what they do. So if you want to protect yourself against that, not only from any adversary like a human, you can also protect yourself against the natural version, a CME or a Carrington level event from the sun. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You'll get $50 off per device. And again, you'll be helping independent news. Born a Hawkeye, it is nice to see you. You have been here for so many years. You were like one of my early subscribers, along with a very small handful of people, including my mods. So Born a Hawkeye, thank you so much, says God is light. I appreciate that comment and thank you for supporting. Dex, get ready. Prime Minister of Greenland tells the island he cannot rule out American attack.
Yeah, this is kind of a crazy statement. So the Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, said such an attack was not likely, but could not be ruled out entirely. So Greenland has told its citizens to stockpile essential supplies as it prepares for a worst-case scenario of an American invasion. Speaking at the press conference at Capitol on Tuesday alongside the Prime Minister, Moot B. Edge, Nielsen confirmed that the government was reviewing its civil defense and emergency preparedness plans. Those measures could include advising households to keep at least 5 days worth of food supplies. It might not be hard for 50,000 people. That's not a lot of people there.
This
right?
is really stupid, though. Even if we took it over, we're not going to starve them or blockade them. I don't see a situation where even if we took it over, it's not like it's going to be we're going to be taking people out in the streets. They just want control over the actual island. I guess if there's hardcore Greenlanders that fight back, they could get taken out. But you know what I mean, Dex? I don't think it would be an aggressive take people out kind of takeover.
Well, and there's also people, indigenous people of that country that have been there that have had their own issues with the people that have settled it that are there. So it could actually be a win for some of them if things are done to right any of the wrongs of the past that have happened in Greenland.
Ryan says Blonald Blumph is controlled op. Again, everybody has their own opinion about the president as far as, especially right now, I see a lot of people either flip-flopping. The thing is, I keep my view pretty much straight on. I call them out when I see stuff that's weird, and I call them out when I see stuff that I like. I'm not I'm not hardcore to the point where I'm going to miss flaws because I like him so much. Which I know a lot of people that do. They miss some of the things that, the one thing that really, the first time I ever questioned him was he said, take the guns now. And what was it? Take the guns now and go to court later. So essentially it was the red flag law where you would have to go into court and prove, if your neighbor calls the police and says your neighbor is crazy, he's got weapons, they could go and take those weapons away. Then they would have a certain amount of time to go into court and prove that they're not crazy. So they're basically guilty and then prove innocence instead of the other way around, which is the opposite of American. when he said that was the first time I ever questioned anything he said. And I know that it's an up and down roller coaster being the president, because you're looking for approval of 370 million people, and any person, it doesn't matter who you are, how popular you are, there's going to be people that do not like you. There's going to be people that hate you and people that like you. But as far as like that, people should question stuff like that. That's impeding and one of our rights, right? So again, that was the first time that really questioned, and ever since then. But then at the same time, I've seen a lot of things that I do like. So again, Ryan, thank you for the support. I appreciate it. All opinions welcome. And then EU leaders talk coordination over Greenland as Trump readies for the Davos meeting. Now remember, this is all done, and all of these articles are before his plane turned around. His plane actually did a U-turn and turned around and landed at Andrews Air Force Base. We showed you the clearance for that, the air traffic controller audio essentially clearing the way for him to come back to Andrews. And they said it was a minor electrical issue. Again, I think it's very, very odd as he's heading to Davos. Dex, do you want to talk about this and the escalating showdown of the EU and US?
Yeah, and it's NATO allies over the fate of Greenland. It looks set to be a dominant topic of the conversation of the leaders at the economic forum there in Davos, with Trump again declaring that American ownership of the Arctic island is imperative. Trump said in a post on social media that following a phone call with NATO Secretary Mark Rutte, I agreed to a meeting of the various parties in Davos, Switzerland, as I expressed to everyone very plainly, Greenland is imperative for national and world security. There can be no going back on that. Everyone agrees, he said. He also ended up releasing, it was really interesting, he released some text messages today. He put out one from what's his name, Mark Rutte, specifically, who was saying, yeah, we can get that Greenland thing figured out. But then he put one out coming from President Macron, and Macron was like, I don't understand what you're doing with this Greenland thing. And it was kind of funny. He didn't put any commentary with it. He just put the private text messages out. So he's stoking some fires with the folks in Europe, let alone the tariffs that he's put on and everything else that he said. So like he is not coming in looking for praise. He is not coming in looking for glory. He's coming in, ready to throw down
fisticuffs
in Europe right now. Yeah, and he is, he is adamant that he's getting in there and he's getting Greenland.
Hopefully that fixed that. I did have some fuzz there, so thank you for letting me know. So with this whole thing, he's going in there. He's putting on his gloves, and he is definitely. It's a different feel from the last time that we saw him at WEF. And then Ryan says, Jesus is king. Thank you again from Australia. I'm assuming that's Australia. Thank you again, and I appreciate the support. And thank you. God bless, Ryan. Appreciate you. All right, and then we have Mexico sends 37 cartel members to U.S. in latest offer to the Trump administration. So this, I think, is silly. 37 cartel members is like, they pick the ones that are like kind of bumblebees, like... they pick their three stooges. They're like, what about the dude picking his nose? Can we send him? Yeah, let's send him. Okay, and then the dude over there, what is his job, actually? So he's just kind of standing by a car with an AK? That guy, can we send that guy? No, he's the cartel boss's son. Okay. What about the other guy with his pants around his ankles? Is that guy cool? Let's send him. Yeah. And what about that guy chopping somebody's head off? Oh no. Okay, that's your mom. Okay, never mind. Well, we gotta send somebody, right? Then they pick 37 people and they send them. 37 cartel members. That's like one town's like corner armada. Like if you've ever been to Mexico and seen how it is down there, it's pretty nuts in some places, and it's completely as far as like the cartel down there, sending 37 members, I don't know, Dex. I don't think it's that big of a deal. They're trying to stop them from saying like, hey, you're not doing anything about these cartel members. They could basically pick anybody they suspect. They could be clearing their house and thinking, hey, anybody that's a snitch, send them up to the U.S. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, in theory, they certainly could. They did say the transfers included a handful of important figures from Sonola, the Beltrons, Cartel Jalisco, New Generation Cartel, and the Northeast Cartel, which is a remnant of the infamous Zetas. I don't know all these cartel names, so it's outside of the big ones. But the Mexican authorities said that they had all had pending U.S. cases. So they're not just randomly sending strangers, but they are people who have indictments. So if they're on the indicted list, if they've got known indictments and cases pending in America, and they can round them up, they're sending them. The total number they have sent now, they've been doing this for the past year, basically the last 12 months. They've sent 92 people in total. I recall back in, I think it was the springtime, the first round, it was a couple of high profile people they had sent over. But this is Mexico's way of trying to get Trump to not come in and take action on the land against the cartels. It's like, if we can just send you some people that are on your prosecution list, we'll send you a few here and there. We'll send you a few more here and there. Is that enough to keep you from crossing the border and attacking the cartels directly?
And I don't think it's going to be. I think there's an ulterior motive that he can't say. Like almost every other story, just like Greenland for the Golden Dome, he'll end up saying later that there's something bigger that's going on in Mexico. That's because I believe the actual thing that's going on here is Mexico, Honduras, Colombia, Venezuela. Everybody was a part of this whole plot. There is a plot, in my opinion, that they were all coordinating on some sort of crazy level, that they were trying to affect the United States, and that there's a massive plan to take the United States off the top of the heap. So everything that I have said over the years is now, it's not even that it's the reaction is coming true. The reaction, as if it is exactly what we've been looking at, is happening. And you're seeing the preemptive responses to it. Wages World says, don't forget solar storm. So actually, we covered Wages World. Don't forget solar storm can cause electrical issues, especially on a plane. Not saying that's the cause, but possible. No, I thought the exact same thing, and I should have said that too. Because last night we covered, I didn't cover it. In fact, in the shoutro at the very end of the show on Twitter, there was a post. If you look at last night's shoutro, of the solar storm that just happened. And obviously Wages World knows. Wages World is actually almost at 62,000 subscribers, and he covers all of the solar events. So again, I guarantee you Wages covered that, so make sure to go check out the video on it. But the big solar events like that, yeah, they very well could. I would think, though, that the Air Force One would be heavily protected against that kind of stuff. I wonder if it was a man-made thing or natural, that it would have to be something that was pretty big. And then if it was a man-made thing, it would have to be obviously, probably old tech mixed with new tech, like something that, really wasn't expected, especially if they turned around. They said they were even putting them on a different plane. So, yeah. And then, Dex, don't we have 2 Air Force Ones, or do we just have one? If
No, we have 2.
Okay, because
they're both 40 plus years old. So. But we have 3, because there's one that's under construction. That's the one that was just given to us from
Dubai,
Qatar.
That's right. See, the 40 years old thing doesn't. I don't think it matters, because from what I've heard, they've redone the entire electrical. Like the shell is the only thing, and they talked about in a Popular Mechanics article about how the aerodynamics need to be better for it to go faster, and the on the new one, all these things. It was back when the Qatar gave the plane, and it said if we did have a new one, what would we improve? But I'm sure that there's also things saying that it's older, but I think it's just the shell that's old. But I could be wrong. And then China's super embassy greenlit in London despite national security dissident group concerns. Now, Dex, you actually got, was it a tip from Foogle fam? I forget what it was, but we said that the high security, the fiber optic line that has the critical line, like not just a normal line of internet going through it, but a super critical highway of information was just feet away from this weird basement that China was planning on putting in this super embassy. Dex, this is the same one, right?
Yeah, this is it. And the blueprints weren't necessarily public, but then they got out and became public when somebody published them and raised the alarm bells saying, hey, look, they're going to dig up underground and build a facility that looks very much, based on the technical drawings, like it would be a data center of some sort. And it's just 3 feet, a sidewalk underneath the ground there, away from the fiber optics that are running the financial district of London, which is going to be carrying a lot of information that could easily be siphoned off if they so chose to dig through the walls or through that area and, intercept it in some way. That was the concern. Now, that was brought to light, and they decided to still go ahead and green light the whole thing. And the British government said, don't worry about it. Let China build their massive new embassy there, right there along those fiber optic lines. It's okay.
And they said, in this regard, any ethical or similar objection to the provision of an embassy to this specific country or to a specific country cannot be a material planning consideration. It would not be lawful to refuse permission simply because it would be for a Chinese embassy. The same would hold out for any other specific country seeking an embassy use through the planning system. Although this is the one that is cyber hacking the rest of the world along with the U.S. So, yeah, I don't know. I maybe infiltrated. I don't know. Sorry, I had a cough there. And a sneeze. I infiltrated. Chew. Sorry. Totally just a sneeze and a cough. I infiltrated. And a throat clearing. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to go check out Jace if you haven't already. It's a very easy service you can use through a telehealth appointment with a board-certified doctor to get yourself a kit with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics right to your door. Again, go to marfooglenews.com/Jace. Make sure to use the code MARF to get a discount and to help our channel out at the same time. They also have the expert curated trauma kits. They have all sorts of other things on their page, so make sure to go check out everything. If you don't have antibiotics on hand, if you can think of any event where you can't get to a hospital, the hospital is not around, like in New Orleans, people obviously had just a gigantic disaster there where the hospitals couldn't house people. They didn't have things. They got looted for everything they had. So if you're in a situation like that, you want to have your own. Not to mention, if we do get into a war with China, they make 90% of all antibiotics in the world, or at least in the U.S., which is absolute insanity. They make 97% of all of the active pharmaceutical ingredients, which again is insane. Stephen McMahon dropped an M for the mods. Thank you, Stephen McMahon, and I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. And then military models Canadian response to a hypothetical American invasion. America's top hat is thinking about us coming up there, and it's not an actionable plan. I feel like this. They purposely made it to where it's like not, but it is. They go over what they would do, but it's not a step-by-step. Which I kind of was confused by that, but again, it even talks about putting IEDs in Canada to push back forces or to take out as many as possible. This is right after they do a new strategic partnership with China. I mean, how weird is the timing on all of these freaking stories? Dex, what did you think when you saw this? I mean, we just have one thing after another that's just weird.
I think what's next is China jockeys for access in Canada to the Arctic in exchange for giving them military support and assurances to protect and defend Canada against America. That's how crazy this world is becoming right now. It would not surprise me if we see that in the next year or two.
Can you say that one more time?
I think that it wouldn't be surprising if we see Canada give China access to the Arctic in their territories that Canada has, in exchange for China providing military support and security protections for Canada against America.
That's a crazy thought. And mind you, the Golden Dome is supposed to protect Canada as well. But if you haven't noticed, Canada has not been our best friend lately. At least their system there, they're doing the same playbook that they did almost entirely across the planet, which is they have had one of their candidates, which the people there, every country, including Australia, and it's funny because I see a lot of folks that don't actually even live here, and they hate our president, and then they have their own candidate that they hated just as if they were that president. They have called the candidate that was fighting against the person who won, they said that was their Canadian Trump, right? That it was, every country has had this. South American countries, European countries, they've all had their Trump version, right? All of the conservative sides, essentially they've made these direct correlations between them and Trump. That they are, racist, this, that. That is the new angle. So, China did a lot of weird decisions over the last 10 years that just really did not make them closer. Now, I know there's a lot of you Canadians out there that disagree with this as well. There's a lot of Canadians out there that see it for what it is, that there's a lot of really bad things happening right now with your government as well. And
like Alberta.
Yeah, Alberta, yeah.
And they were lining up by the thousands in the past few days to sign a petition to secede from Canada.
Which, I mean, it's like the same playbook in a different country all over the world. And that kind of is full circle to this show. Think about what's happening and think about what the president's heading to. The WEF, right? The form, the economic, the world. It's just like, that there's decisions made there, there's actions taken there that are going to affect the rest of the planet, and we don't get to see it. We might get to see some highlights. We might get to see the red carpet sort of thing, like, oh, look at this. The who's who of the Johnsons are there. But we don't get to see the closed-door meetings. We don't get to see the decisions that they're making for us, not by us. All right, go ahead.
They're trying to get a referendum heard, so that the provincial government will hold this referendum on separation, and to do it, they need to have 177,000 signatures by May 2nd, of which 10% must be eligible voters from the last selection process there. So, I don't know if they'll get it, but that's sounds like it's attainable, unless there's only like 200,000 people in Alberta, but I don't think that's the case. I think they have more than that. But 177,000 signatures is all they need.
Which, I think good for them. And then Born a Hawkeye says, China has complexes in Canada. Civilians have, and this is again a comment, videotaped Chinese military. Same with Australia. Wonder why they disarmed them. Dex, we've covered some of this, and WISGen says, you're 100% correct. I believe China has a mine in Canada. At Marfoogle TV reported it before. Good to see you here tonight. You are absolutely correct. And we also covered that they had this treaty with Canada that essentially that if it was an important enough thing for China, they did this treaty where China could protect it in any way possible, and they didn't even have to check with local law enforcement. They could literally bring in people to protect their property or to their land if it was a certain whatever. I don't know if they had a declared name for these kind of things, but if there were certain properties that were important to the CCP, they would not have to go through any kind of red tape or bureaucratic red tape to do things there. And some believe that they could even go in there and essentially even get into the country and not check in with anybody, which I think would be crazy. And then when you see this new strategic partnership that they've all drafted up, it looks like Canada is turning on the United States. And that's not to offend anybody. That's just what it looks like. Is that just the narrative? Is that just the thing they want us to think? Or is that what's really happening? I think it's the latter. But again, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to thank your mods down in the chat. Also, make sure to go over to their pages. You can go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. You got Chance with his books over on Amazon. You got Trinity with digging into her deep dives, Wages covering all of the solar events. You've got Ilea, one of the funniest people out there. You got Rip Curls covering the Rip Curls. And then you've got, of course, CJ Blaze and Jammer and Elisar Hall, our longest running mod. And of course, Bones over on TikTok. He's been doing really well over there. So go check out all of them and support them. They do an awesome service, keeping everything peaceful here. Again, thank you, and thank you. Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
We will be doing a shoutro, and we'll be thanking, of course, Stephen McMahon, Borne Hawkeye, CD Ratten, just hit 25 months, says hello, Foogle fam. Ryan, thank you so much. I believe you are in top 3 tonight. Jammer 1, thank you for hitting 31 months, says happy Mrs. Jammer. Maybe happy birthday, Mrs. Jammer? I don't know if Mrs. Jammer's birthday is today, but Jammer, that would be awesome. Born a Hawkeye, thank you, God is light. And thank you. Love you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
Under the golden dome, wonder the flag above ya. Is it the same one you think you wonder? I said I wonder the flag above ya. Is it the same one you think you wonder? I said I wonder. Is someone taking over under the golden dome? That's why we need a golden dome. Said I wonder, the flag above it, is it the same one you think you wonder? That's why we